Hi, I'm Michael Senoff, founder and CEO of HardToFindSeminars.com. For the last 5 years, I've interviewed the world's best business and marketing minds. Now my challenge is to build the world's largest free resource for online, downloadable audio business interviews. I've learned a lot in the last 5 years, and today I'm going to show you the skills you need to survive. Hi, this is Michael Senoff with Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. You know, as our world becomes a global economy, American businesses and manufacturers are going to be faced with the possibility of exporting and marketing their product outside of the United States. This is an interview with a gentleman who has built a website over the last 10 years that is the world's #1 portal for export trade. On the site is over 500 different links to different products and different services to help you as an American manufacturer export your product safely to any country in the world. And conversely, if you are an international company wanting to import your product into the United States, this is the source to go to first for questions and answers in logistics on bringing your product into the U.S. So in this 40-minute interview, we'll be discussing the site and how you can use it to your advantage to find trading partners and handle all logistics of importing or exporting your products for more money. Enjoy. So, Barney, how can an individual or anybody in the world who is interested in doing international import-export trading or business utilize FIDA? And what is your advice for them?
They can use it in many different ways. One thing that I'd say a majority of the people do at first when they come to our website is use our extensive links to other websites that have what are called trade leads.
What is a trade lead?
A trade lead, an invention that appeared with the Internet back in about 1993. Actually, it started with the United Nations. They started a trade website. It was supposedly focused just at third world countries, people in those third world countries that wanted to get the word out about products that they had for sale. And they gave them free access to list whatever products they had for sale on a UN website. And early on, this became the main website that people would go to find listings of products for sale, and then also then other people would list things that they wanted to buy.
Was this done mainly through the Internet, or were there offices set up in different countries that someone could go to and research it?
At the time, there were offices set up in different countries. It's called trade points. They still nominally exist, although the system doesn't really function anymore.
Give me an example. Let's say I'm a manufacturer of scented candles in Chile. Back then, how would I have used that United Nations site to benefit me?
Back then, there weren't as many people on the Internet, and maybe as a candle manufacturer, maybe you didn't have a computer. It could be that the local trade link office, which I don't remember if there was one in Chile, but let's say there was one in Chile, would have gone out to the business community and said, we have a new way of finding you international buyers. Come over to our office or sign up with our office, and we will put your products on a system that will get the word out about your products to buyers all over the world.
Was the United Nations site a free service?
Yes, it was.
So that was free for anyone who had offices set up. Now, with the advent of the Internet, in many of the countries having access to the Internet, we've bypassed the offices, and it's now doable all online for anyone.
Well, actually, what happened then with that particular system is that as more and more people got online, they realized that just doing it through offices wasn't really an efficient way of doing it, and then they just opened up the system to anybody at all could post whatever they wanted to on the system. And of course, that also was a problem because a bunch of scam artists figured out this was a good way of trying to get people to give them money, and other people sort of would just put on, and still do, put on these trade leads as kind of fishing expeditions rather than really having a certain product that they want to buy or a certain product that they really have to sell.
So give me an example. Let's say you had a scam artist in Nigeria, for example. I think a lot of people recognize Nigeria as engaged in that type of thing, whether it's true or not. And they would put that they have, for example, what? Something to sell?
One of the danger signs you still see actually in a lot of these trade leads is people who are offering to buy or sell commodities such as sugar or urea or oil. First of all, anybody who really was selling oil or really was buying sugar would make it publicly known, because These are worldwide commodities. There are worldwide international prices that go up and down in the world commodity markets for these products. And basically these products, for the most part, are sold by cartels. So all the buyers know all the sellers, vice versa. And they don't need to put trade leads on the internet. As with any kind of business transaction you do, online or offline, you have to be knowledgeable. You have to have a sense of what's real and what's not. And you have to do your own investigations to figure out what makes sense. But this idea that started with the UN back in 92 or 93, whenever it was, then proliferated, and as internet technology got more sophisticated, as database technology got more sophisticated, a lot more people started setting up their own websites just like that. On our website, I have links probably to about 700 websites that have those trade leads. A lot of them are free, some of them charge. What then has happened in some countries, such as China in particular, is that this has actually become very, very big business. Because China is going through this spectacular growth. Not too long ago, people had very limited ways of communicating with each other within China and with people outside of China. And a few companies were set up in China, one called Global Sources, another called Alibaba, which has since been bought out, at least half bought out by Yahoo, where they started with this idea of trade leads. First, the same kind of thing as the UN was doing, but then they realized they had a real gold mine in China itself because Chinese manufacturers really didn't have much experience in letting the world know about their products. And so they built up this huge business of charging Chinese factories to list their whole catalog of products and feature them, and they have video demonstrations of the factories now as a way of international buyers buying Chinese products. So particularly in China, and particularly with Alibaba, Global Sources, a few others, there's one called MadeInChina.com. In China in particular, the trade, what was begun as this kind of simple trade lead database system, has now become a very, very sophisticated international business marketplace online.
And this has obviously been great for China.
It's been very good for China, and everybody in China knows Alibaba now.
How much did Yahoo buy part of it for?
$1 billion.
What was their interest in that?
Well, they had many reasons to do it. Alibaba also has a huge retail auction similar to eBay. They're bigger than eBay in China.
Really? Is it still under the Alibaba name, the auction part?
No, it has a Chinese name. And people know it's part of Alibaba, but they don't call it Alibaba.
Is it all in Chinese?
It's only in Chinese. In any case, first of all, one of the original CTOs of Yahoo went to work for Alibaba 8 years ago, so there was a good relationship between the two companies. Yahoo had got into some trouble in China, breaking into the market. Google was beating them, a couple of local Chinese search engines were beating them, and they felt they'd be better off just by having basically a completely Chinese-run company take over their operations there. And the way they did it was by putting $1 billion into Alibaba and putting in some of their Chinese executives to work at Alibaba. This was about a year ago.
Okay, very interesting. Before we get into more benefits, let me go into just a little history about you. Why don't you tell me, what is your background and how did you get involved? What was the genesis of this entire website?
Well, a long time ago, actually, I was a professional classical musician.
What did you play?
I played freelance around New York City. I worked in Austria for a couple of years. I worked in Brazil for a few years. Toured the world as a musician. Played in Broadway shows in New York. I got rather fed up with the music profession in the 80s and decided to go back to school and got myself an MBA from a school called Thunderbird in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a school just for international business. Got a job with a trading company in New York. We were importing products from Spain and developing markets for Spanish products. Then the World Wide Web came along, and I got to know Nelson Joyner, who was the chairman of FIDA, and he was at the time, around 1994, starting up what was called at the time a website. We talked, and I had been playing with the internet since the idea came along.
So FIDA was already established before the website?
FIDA was established in 1984 by Nelson Joyner.
And what does it stand for?
Federation of International Trade Associations.
Are they the predominant trade association, or just one of many?
What FIDA is it's a federation, which means it's an association of associations. So we have about 500 member associations.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini-seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at hardtofindseminars.com. So go right now to hardtofindseminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to hardtofindseminars.com. Thanks for watching.